Evidence continues to mount of Donald Trump's unparalleled corruption, particularly regarding cryptocurrency and his meme coin. It's gotten so bad that some Senate Republicans are actually publicly expressing misgivings about the situation. In response, Democrats are at least trying to introduce legislation to regulate this, but no doubt it will be blocked by most Republicans who control Congress. This is really bad, folks. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. We talked about this, but we need to do a pretty big update. Okay, so I love the energy coming from the DCCC. It's a Democratic Party national account on Twitter. They're starting to speak more plainly, more bluntly, and give Donald Trump the disrespect he deserves. They say the next time Republicans bitch about corruption, ignore them. This is the most corrupt administration in American history. And they're quoting Donald Trump with the $ Trump, his meme coin, gala dinner, fight, 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 the Trump National at Washington, D.C. on May 22nd, 2025. GetTrumpMemes.com. It's Donald Trump advertising his meme coin and say, hey, listen, for top buyers, you can have an audience with me, the President of the United States. And again, just some pretty shocking evidence regarding where this has gone. It's just all being done out in the open, and we as Americans just simply don't give a damn. But let me give you this clip. Okay, this is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy offering some legislation to try to regulate the Trump corruption and try to constrain it.
Today I'm introducing a piece of legislation that would ban any president of the United States, any member of Congress, from issuing a meme coin in order to get paid secretly by people who have business before the federal government. Trump's meme coin, it's the most unethical, the most corrupt thing a president of the United States has ever done. It's essentially a way for any corporate CEO, any Saudi prince, any foreign oligarch who has business before the Trump administration to send Trump money privately, secretly, and then whisper to the Trump administration about how much money they've sent and the favor that they need. This piece of legislation is called the Meme Act. I'm introducing it with Representative Sam Liccardo from California. And this is a chance for Republicans and Democrats to come together and say that none of us, no member of the executive branch, no member of Congress should be able to profit off of their position. And certainly we should not allow for these secret ways for very powerful, very rich people to be able to send money to a member of Congress or the President of the United States. This is a common sense bill, and we should just get it done. Today I'm introducing a piece of
I think that most Republicans will block it out of fealty for Trump, knowing full well that if the shoe were on the other foot, they would absolutely cheerlead such a thing. Again, it's gotten so bad that even some Senate Republicans are calling this out. Senate Republicans raise red flags about Trump's private dinner with his meme coin holders. This is reported by NBC News. Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming, a strong Trump backer and major voice on cryptocurrency regulation in the Senate, said the dinner, quote, gives me pause. Ooh, very brave of you, Cynthia. Again, imagine what she'd be saying if this were President Biden, President Obama, President Clinton, a hypothetical vice president, or President Harris or President Hillary Clinton. Imagine what this woman would be saying about that. But because it's Trump, she has to, temper her language. Some Senate Republicans are raising concerns about an exclusive dinner and White House tour Donald Trump is offering top investors in his Trump meme token. Quote, this is my president that we're talking about, but I'm willing to say this gives me pause, said Cynthia Lummis, who has been spearheading a legislative push on cryptocurrency regulation in the Senate. The official website for Trump's meme coin announced last week that the top 220 holders of the coin are invited to an intimate private dinner with the president at his golf club outside of Washington, D.C. later this month. The top 25 investors will also receive an invitation to a VIP White House tour the following day, according to the website. The $ Trump meme coin surged more than 50% after the dinner news broke, boosting its total market value to $2.7 billion. Senator Lisa Murkowski, also a Republican who often bucks her party, expressed uneasiness about the event, though she noted she didn't have all the details. Quote, I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to charge people to come to the Capitol to take a tour. He's got to remember that he's living there, but it's the people's house, right? So some Senate Republicans are at least offering some misgivings. Now, I want to play this clip here. It is about 4 minutes long, but it's jam-packed full of information. Then we're going to look at an article of a cryptocurrency expert explaining to CBS News why Trump's cryptocurrency ventures are so dangerous and so unethical.
In just a few hours, President Trump will head to an exclusive MAGA Inc. dinner party at the Trump National Golf Club in Virginia. Other media outlets have reported that the dinner costs $1.5 million per person and will also feature venture capitalist David Sachs. So MAGA Inc. is a super PAC that supports Trump, but it is raising ethical concerns from watchdog groups. So let's bring in Corey Freyer. He's the director of investor protection for the Consumer Federation of America. Corey, thanks so much for joining us. Let's begin. We know Trump has his own crypto meme coin. So what is a meme coin? How is it different from Bitcoin?
Trump's companies have been selling several different kinds of crypto coins. A meme coin is a token that you buy because you hope to profit off of it if it becomes popular enough to sell to someone else. While where it's the Trump coin or the president of Argentina's meme coin, they are rife with self-dealing and insider trading. Trump has made at least $350 million from this meme coin so far. He plans to sell as many as 800 million more of these coins after he's increased their price by announcing these dinners for its top buyers. In effect, Trump is a pay-to-play scheme that allows his biggest buyers in his coin to meet him in person and potentially influence him. And even possibly foreign nationals may see this as a way to bribe the president.
So the Trump family also controls a crypto firm. So tell us about that.
So World Liberty Financial is a company led by Trump and his family, and his organizations own 60% of that company, and they receive 75% of its revenues. Just last week, that company announced a $2 billion deal with the brother of the president of the United Arab Emirates. That money will be used to invest in Binance, a Chinese-founded crypto firm that Trump has canceled a federal enforcement action against. World Liberty Financial also states that in a separate crypto scheme, it has made more than $550 million.
So do we know how much money the president has actually made from his cryptocurrency ventures?
In total, the president's meme coin and other crypto businesses have made almost $3 billion, but that's only the money we know about. There's an opaque web of Trump crypto and non-crypto businesses, including Trump Media Group and Truth Social, that make it incredibly hard to know how many coins he's sold or to whom, or whether he might have investments in other crypto companies.
All right, so let's talk about maybe what kind of legal and ethical questions are being raised from watchdog groups.
There are a lot of alarming concerns here. It's important to remember that self-dealing isn't new to this president. In his first term, Trump had the CEO of T-Mobile spend more than $195,000 at the Trump Hotel while a $26 billion merger with Sprint was being considered. Government reports showed that he charged the Secret Service exorbitant rates to stay at Mar-a-Lago. Trump has gutted the regulators that would otherwise oversee and enforce the laws, which he has essentially repealed, that oversee bribery and corruption. So the issues he has created by allowing for this way to pay him essentially anonymously, to donate to him without anyone being able to track it, and to even possibly force people to take these cryptocurrencies by moving government payments to this system, as Elon Musk and his Doge team have suggested. It creates enormous conflicts of interest and ethical concerns and ways for the president to profit off of his position of public trust.
There you have it. It's a pretty good breakdown in under 4 minutes about how extremely opaque and dangerous and unethical this is. Now, I also want to read you a really good op-ed in the Philadelphia Inquirer, okay? Because it's just really, really good. It's written by Will Bunch, okay? It says the Trump family is taking crypto payoffs in the middle of Fifth Avenue. Who will stop them? The Fifth Avenue reference, if it's not immediately apparent, it'll come to your forefront soon. A trucking logistics magnate from Monterrey, Mexico, named Javier Selgas, didn't need to direct a rig laden with crypto cash toward Trump Tower on New York's gilded Fifth Avenue to make a politically strategic investment in the family of America's 47th president, but he might as well have. Selgas, the CEO of Freight Technologies, Inc., a cross-border tracking concern, said his firm recently purchased $20 million of the Trump meme coin, a faddish type of cryptocurrency with no inherent value other than its ownership by Donald Trump, his family, and close allies, for the explicit purpose of lobbying the White House on tariffs. How do we know this? Because Selgis said so himself, both in a public news release and in a related filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, needed to sell bonds for this international company to invest in the Trump family coin. The CEO said its $20 million purchase would be, quote, an effective way to advocate for fair, balanced, and free trade between Mexico and the U.S., end quote. It sure could be. The Mexican entrepreneur's large investment into the Trump coin, which features his famous fight gesture after last July's assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, would seem to guarantee an invitation for Selgis to an unprecedented, and I mean that in the worst possible way, event. The president recently announced that the top 220 holders of the Trump meme coin are invited to dine with him at his Virginia golf course on May 22nd, while the top 25 will get an exclusive FaceTime with POTUS 47. So, a foreign multimillionaire with $20 million to burn on a meme coin will get to personally plead his case for relief from the 25% tariff that the Trump regime imposed on Mexican goods earlier this year. So, just want to pause there for just a second. So, think about how mafia and criminal this is. Trump imposes a tariff, which is going to screw this man over and his company over. But in exchange, I mean, it's right out of like a Scorsese film, right? Or, Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, right? Like, hey, I'm going to hit you with this. It's like a racket, right? I'm going to hit you with this, you're going to impose this penalty on you. But if you pay me a fee, I'll make an exemption for you. Criminal. An everyday American schlub who couldn't afford a $25 margarita or find a doll for their daughter on a barren store shelf could never dream of such access. The shockingly brazen case of the selling of the President 2025, as watchdogged by the group Accountable.us and the HuffPo, probably should have been a huge breakthrough national story, but hasn't been for arguably a couple of reasons. On one hand, the $20 million windfall wasn't the largest or most dubious foreign investment in Trump Inc. this week, not by a long shot. In Dubai, the Trump family cryptocurrency venture called World Liberty Financial, a separate operation from the meme coin, announced that a concern backed by the oil dictatorship of Abu Dhabi is buying $2 billion of its digital coins to complete a deal with a troubled top crypto firm that is regulated by the Trump administration. Yeah. So even this pales in comparison, like what we're hearing about the donors and again, Javier Selgis, this pales in comparison to what we're hearing abroad involving the Trump coin. The co-founder of World Liberty Financial, Zach Witkoff, who perhaps not so coincidentally is also the son of Trump's surprising and inexperienced pick for Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, who deals regularly with the oligarchs of the United Arab Emirates, promised a Gulf crypto conference, quote, "This is only the beginning." But on the other hand, a massive scandal involving a web of conflict between the growing array of Trump family business ventures and his government's dealings on tariffs, or ending the bloodshed in the Middle East, is so brazen, so public, and so large that the institutions tasked with stopping this level of graft seem overwhelmed when not corrupted themselves. What ought to be a larger scandal than Watergate has been instead met with one large American shrug. Why? This is the president who famously bragged during his 2016 campaign that, quote, "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?" At least metaphorically speaking, this has proved to be the truest thing Trump has ever uttered from a campaign podium. But why deal with messy bloodstains on the asphalt of Manhattan's main shopping artery when there's millions and possibly billions of dollars in graft to be pocketed instead? The corruption of Trump's first presidency, foreign lobbyists, out-of-town favor seekers, and government-backed Secret Service agents keeping his hotels and resorts above water, was both without precedent, yet also a kind of mild spring training for what has come, or what was to come, with Trump 47. The foreshadowing came early, with that $2 billion Saudi investment in son-in-law Jared Kushner's, a key Middle East envoy during Trump 45, vague new hedge fund, and the billion-dollar rise of Trump Media, a stock that soared and confirmed Trump's billionaire status despite the firm's huge losses and unlikely future prospects. All that before Trump discovered crypto, which he quite rightly nailed in 2021 when he told Fox Business Channel that products like Bitcoin looked to him like, quote, a scam, but who in 2024 seemed to wonder why he wasn't in on it. Running for a second term, he promised crypto's mega campaign donors that he'd deregulate their industry, then gobsmacked good government watchdogs with his own crypto ventures. Last Tuesday, the 100th day of Trump's new presidency, the New York Times published a stunning investigation of one of these schemes, World Liberty Financial and its brazen efforts to seek multi-million-dollar payments that would guarantee access or endorsements from Trump World. In reporting on World Liberty Financial's $550 million in sales so far for a firm largely owned by a Trump family corporation, the Times wrote the company is, quote, eviscerating the boundary between private enterprise and government policy in a manner without precedent in modern American history. Mr. Trump is now not only a major government crypto dealer, he's also the industry's top policy maker. The tangled web of corruption around Trump and crypto includes the ability of foreign actors to buy influence in Washington through digital coins, and Trump regime actions like a plan for a national Bitcoin reserve that have boosted the value of these assets, as well as dropped federal investigations into the industry's more dubious actors, including some who have openly purchased Trump crypto products. So the Trump administration has dropped ongoing federal investigations into people who have become investors in Trump's crypto project. Sure looks like a quid pro quo. The world that Trump derided as a scam 4 years ago has offered a cover for arguably the worst financial graft in White House history, not fully grasped by regular folks struggling to understand a confusing playing field of meme coins, stable coins, and more, and also to keep up with the Trump family's multiple ventures. World Liberty Financial is separate from the Trump meme coin, which the incoming president announced just 3 days before his January inauguration, and initially soared in value, making billions, on paper anyway, for Trump and his allies. The Trump coin also brought in a cool $100 million in transaction fees, and the president hasn't been shy about using the power of his office to pump up its value with the promise of a huge future payday. Trump's recent announcement about the Virginia dinner caused the meme coin to surge by more than 50% in value. Quote, let's be explicit about what's happening here. Trump appears to be auctioning off access to the presidency, said Noah Bookbinder, executive director of CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, which is a watchdog that I've regularly quoted on this channel. Quote, the more of his cryptocurrency that people buy, the higher their chances of meeting Trump at his club, and there's no ambiguity about who is profiting. I'm old enough to remember when the sitting vice president, Spiro Agnew, was investigated by the Justice Department and pled no contest to a felony for taking small bore bribes of cash in white envelopes, including $17,500 inside the White House. Agnew, by the way, Republican. Now it's okay for the president and his heirs to make potentially hundreds of millions of dollars by selling the office? Make it make sense. It's not that investigative journalists like the Times team that delved into World Liberty Financial aren't doing their job, and yet their reporting doesn't seem to break through in a broader media environment and even an electorate that seems cynically numbed to the rank corruption of oligarchy. The Supreme Court, itself a thoroughly corrupted body, has done much to make the political graft appear to be legal in America. This was before Trump named Attorney General Pam Bondi, who has ensured that the Justice Department is loyal to Trump and not to the American people, the rule of law, or the greater good. That leaves the opposition Democrats in Congress. Yet when it comes to cryptocurrency, Tom Dems like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer are almost as deeply in the tank as the Trump regime. This coming week, Axios reported the Senate is racing toward a vote on a bipartisan regulatory bill that's supported by the crypto industry and lacks rules that a few progressive Democrats are seeking that would block corrupt deals like the Abu Dhabi investment in World Liberty Financial. That's not shocking given the millions that the crypto industry gave to both parties last fall, but it's profoundly disappointing. And I should say, I'm pretty sure that at the time of recording, because this was written like a day or two ago, that bill is actually falling through because Ruben Gallego and other Senate Democrats are withdrawing their support. So it probably won't make it past the filibuster. Okay, that's my understanding as of now. America is never going to return to a functioning, let alone thriving democracy as long as we pretend that it's not a crime to sell access and influence in the White House for coins that go straight into the pocket of the president or his children. There's nothing to stop the talking heads on your TV or the protesters in the streets from raising holy hell about this right now. There's nothing that would stop a Democratic House majority in 2027 from impeaching Trump yet again for so blatantly defying the emoluments clause of the U.S. Constitution. And there is nothing that would or should stop the next U.S. Attorney General in 2029 from investigating the brazen crime of bribery that this appears to be. We don't really need a murder on Fifth Avenue before we can agree that paying off of the sitting president is wrong, do we? Great article. Definitely want to read it to you because, folks, this is really important. Again, Trump is just objectively the most corrupt president in the history of the United States by far. And I want you to think about this. We'll close on this. At a time that he's already a rich, privileged man, further enriching and privileging himself based on a public office where he should be serving you and me and people who voted for him, people who didn't vote for him, and himself last, he's actually got that order flipped and he's serving himself first to further enrich and privilege himself at a time when the economy is contracting and we are effectively getting hit with the biggest tax hike in American history on all of us, a regressive tax because it'll hit middle and lower income households and persons harder than the rich, because Donald Trump is unilaterally imposing tariffs on the rest of the world. So he's single-handedly wrecking the economy for the vast majority. And instead of providing us relief or not doing the stupid shit in the first place, he's taking great pains to further enrich himself. This is a big deal. We should care that a president is corrupt or not corrupt. And when a president proves to be unparalleled, I mean, especially because, again, I just want to, I guess I'll close by also reminding you this. When the Democrats say the next time Republicans bitch about corruption, ignore them, that's true. This is 10 million times worse than anything you can ever say about Hunter Biden. And anyone who cares about Hunter Biden, who was not president, who did not serve in the White House, and doesn't care about what the sitting president does, they're an unprincipled, hypocritical loser who should be made fun of. And they don't give a damn about corruption. But I'm betting you do. Hold them to one standard. And by that standard, Trump is objectively worse. And you should reward his political opponents with the power to stop him. Crush the Republicans in every election at the midterms. Give all the available power to the Democrats and demand that Democrats hold Trump accountable the moment they get it. Ruthlessly, publicly investigate and inquire into this. Don't do it behind the scenes. Don't have a gentleman's agreement. Do it on air. Be relentless. Demagogue the hell out of this issue. Let's win the 2028 election and demand that the Democratic president who comes into power on January 20th, 2029, ruthlessly prosecute the Trump administration for this unparalleled corruption. But that's my opinion. You let me know yours in the comments.